Girl, don't even get me started on how societal constructs make it such a freaking challenge for women to age how they want.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to unhook ourselves. Like we deliberately have to unhook ourselves from decades of people pleasing, the good girl conditioning, just all the societal messages that we've had to deal with that make it so hard to thrive in midlife. There's no way we're going to start knitting and just sit around waiting to babysit the grandkids. Okay, I know you knit, right?
Crochet.
Oh, you crochet.
I
Okay.
knit too, but yeah.
Okay. You knit. And I love watching our grandkids, right? But the point is, we are so much more than what society wants us to be as we age. Welcome to Drinks with the Girls. Conversations for women over 40 around connection, change, and the power of female friendship. Living well with stories to tell. I'm Karen, and this is Lisa.
We are moms and solopreneurs stepping into our own, diving into real conversations about things that matter to women in midlife.
We're here to spill the tea on everything that affects women in their 40s and beyond. Topics like loss and grief, changing relationships, launching kids, menopause, and reinventing ourselves in midlife. We are here to tackle it all.
Connect with us through a blend of our lived experiences, our friendship, the memory of our moms, plus a collection of real stories, honest conversations, and engaging interviews that will make women over 40 feel seen and remind them that they're not alone on this journey called life. Let's go.
Hello, fabulous Drinks with the Girls listeners. Thank you for joining us for another episode. And before we really dive in, hey, Lisa, what are you drinking today?
Double fisting. Everything in life with balance. Cheap liter Cabernet in one hand, big old glass of water in the other hand.
Nice. You want to know what I'm drinking?
I do. I was just taking a sip of water to hydrate.
I'm drinking a huge hydro flask of icy lemon water.
Yeah,
I want to be hydrated too.
Lychee seltzer wasn't doing it for you, huh?
Yeah, no, I had to get rid of that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, life goals.
So what are we talking about today?
We are talking about midlife reinvention, and especially about and how we did that through the lens of entrepreneurship.
I love this topic so much because, as you know, this is one of the things I help my clients with. I am passionate about women stepping into the next most empowered version of themselves. How do they do it, you ask? By following their intuition, trying new things, and taking risks. And this translates to midlife reinvention. I think when we're younger, we don't realize how many versions of ourselves are really inside us. I know I didn't.
Yeah, it's like, I think we think we're just going to arrive and then that's it. Like you spend your whole life like trying to get there, and that's just not, that's not how it goes. And I'm really excited about this topic because it's something I'm very committed to and I've jumped into wholeheartedly.
So how have you pivoted over the last 15 to 20 years, and how have those pivots led you to where you are now?
It's so interesting because I find, at least, when difficult things have happened to me in my life, I always question them. Of course, I think that's natural, really, when you're faced with adversity. One doesn't understand why difficult things are happening to them, and it's obviously really painful. But with distance, I have found that I have been led in certain directions, and all those winding paths have led me to where I am today. I'm probably on my 5th career at this point, and it's honestly the one I feel the most aligned with, and that's one of an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. I think that's really telling because the older we get, the more we get to know ourselves, hopefully. And this self-knowledge coincides with the confidence boost that we get, like we start getting in our 40s. I don't know about you, but when I hit my 40s, I was way more confident than I was earlier. Yeah. And this leads to women fully stepping into themselves unapologetically. I mean, my first big reinvention, I suppose, was when I became a mother. And after that, it was going from a working mom to a stay-at-home mom. That was a big one. And then, stick with me on this, at 35, I learned how to surf.
I freaking love it.
In the ocean. And literally part of my persona became a surfer. I would drop my kids off at school and grab my board and
I freaking love that.
I mean, yeah, talk about being a little like, I was not up for PTA Mom of the Year. Let's just put it that way. But in my 40s, then after that, I became a blogger. I became an empowerment coach for women. I became a divorced woman. And then I became a small business owner. And most recently, I've become an empty nester, a fiance, a divorce coach, and a chicken tender.
That's
So,
not a nugget, just so you know.
no, I tend
Tender of chickens, not eater of
Yes.
tenders.
I do eat tenders too, though, but
Yes.
not my chicken tenders.
Yeah.
So you could say I have been many versions of myself over the past 2 decades. So let's talk about becoming an entrepreneur as a midlife woman. What was that journey like for you?
When I look back, I realized that particular calling was one I explored from a very young age, starting with a double paper route that I had when I was 11 years old. I started out my
Overachiever.
I know. Well, that's how I was able to have a horse. So I was like totally motivated,
Nice.
right?
Nice.
So
nice. Yeah.
I started out my working career in the Hollywood film industry where I worked for Warner Brothers on the syndication of a little show called Friends. Yep, that one. And then I worked in sales for all the major television networks and their internet divisions, with the exception of Fox. And after that, I got my master's degree in special education and taught for 13 years. And then I began my work as a literacy consultant, which I still do, but my heart is as an entrepreneur for sure. I run a health and wellness business with a global company called Arbonne. And of course, we have this podcast, and we've recently been asked to launch a podcast coaching membership. We'll put all of that info in the show notes for you. And then lastly, a brand new project that I'm launching is an advocacy membership for parents who have children with special needs. And I'm super excited about that.
I'm excited about that too for you. You have so much knowledge. I'm so glad you're going to be putting it out into the world.
I'm excited.
But wait a minute. Back it on up. I did not know you worked in Hollywood on Friends. How did you make the decision to go from that to education?
Yeah, that whole experience was crazy time. Let me tell you. I mean, yeah, it was bananas. So I did the Hollywood thing, and then I worked in media sales in San Francisco and Seattle. And then, of course, since practically my entire family are educators, naturally when I went to college, I was like, nope, not going to do it. Hard pass. However, after the umpteenth layoff from media companies, I'd had enough and I wanted something more stable, or so I thought. Story for another podcast. The University of Oregon is right in town here, and they have one of the best education departments in the country. So I went for it, and I ended up with the master's in special education. Little did I know how useful that would be with the plot twist that is having 2 children on the autism spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny how life works like that, huh?
Imagine that.
I look back at how I got to where I am now, and it was literally by just putting one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
I just took each next brave step because let's keep it real, starting a small business later in life when you have zero business experience is scary AF. But I look at the trajectory of my business and the pivots I've made over the years, and literally, okay, I know this sounds weird, but I can trace it all back to learning how to surf at 35.
Mm-hmm.
This was really the first kind of scary, totally out of my comfort zone decision that I made. And had I not become a surfer, I never would have started a surf blog, which then turned into a women's empowerment blog, which then led me to become a coach and start my coaching business. I've never realized it before, but literally surfing is where it all started. Although my profession was in counseling before I became a stay-at-home mom, so maybe I would have ended up here, but I guess we'll never know. Most times, the redirections we make are due to the progression of life and shifting roles. And sometimes the really cool pivots are the ones where we put our big girl panties on and take the leap.
Yep. Isn't it crazy when you look back at it all and it makes sense? Like, let's talk a little bit about riding that roller coaster of life's transitions, because it's a bugger to stay afloat quite often, right? My son is a senior in high school. While I know we will never truly be empty nesters because of his disabilities, it's still a big transition on the horizon. What was that transition to empty nester like for you?
Well, for me, it was like a slow burn. Both of my kids went away to college, but would come home for the summer. So I got to test the waters of empty nesting during the 2 years that they were away together. And this transition is not easy, I have to say, especially for stay-at-home moms. I started feeling the loss when they were in high school because I was a stay-at-home mom. And once they were driving and they were more independent, my role drastically shifted. And I think this is a huge identity issue for stay-at-home moms because we are so wrapped up in the caretaking. Like that's who we are. We are the handler of all the children related things. And once the children don't need so many things, you look in the mirror and you're like, well, who am I? When that identity started to drift away, I really started to feel like if I wasn't taking care of the people, then who was I? And this is honestly when I sought out a life coach because I felt like a fish out of water and I had no idea what to do with my life. I tried to re-enter the workforce, but come to find out when you've been out of the workforce for 17-ish years, it's not that easy just to hop right back in. But this coach helped me discover my passions and my desires that had been on the back burner for almost 2 decades. And she helped me create an action plan to move forward into my next chapter. And that's when I started blogging, and the rest was history. Becoming an empty nester is one huge transition that can shake a woman's foundation, and I'm sure a man's too. Some women really struggle with the loss of the day-to-day mothering, while others look at it as a time of an opportunity where they can focus on their own needs and passions. But either way, I think there's grief to process for sure.
Yeah. For me, of course, the transition is going to look different, right? We're trying to ensure our son is taken care of, but has as much freedom as he can handle. So we're having to look into guardianship and retaining parental rights. We've got a lawyer working on it, but there's so much to learn. I'm grateful for our special education backgrounds, though, because we knew how to prepare ourselves legally for this. Most parents that I worked with when I taught, they figured that out a little too late, that they needed to retain parental rights. And once a child turns 18, it's almost impossible to get them back. That's a story for another podcast, though. But I bring it up because it's going to be a huge transition for us. My name is Lisa Corachella McDowell, and I'm not just a healthy smoothie girl. Check out nextlevellifewithlisa.com, my website and centerpiece for all that I do. Connect with me about my free classes, the fabulous health and wellness products I have, literacy work, special education advocacy, and social media. I try to live my truth and put it all out there authentically. And for a special offer, go to nextlevellifewithlisa.com/podcast for some exclusive goodies for my Drinks with the Girls listeners. See you there. What are some other transitions that women face in midlife?
Okay, can I just say you are such a plethora of knowledge and experience. I know I said this a little bit earlier, but when it comes to navigating the ins and the outs of parenting kids with special needs, I'm super excited that you are going to be putting all your gifts into the world so other parents can benefit from your wisdom.
Yeah, I'm super excited to roll it out. I'm putting the finishing touches on the first little peek at the membership program I'm starting for parents to navigate the world of kids with disabilities. And of course, as always, the biggest struggle I'm having right now is what to name it. So if anyone has any brilliant ideas, please throw them at me. That's honestly, we tell the story in our coaching program about the podcast. Coming up with the name, hardest part of it. So anyhow, squirrel. What are some other reinventions in midlife that are typical?
Well, there are also the relationship changes, divorce, and even death of a partner or loved one. This produces a natural life transition, right? That women and men struggle with. I was actually going through a divorce and the emptiness simultaneously. So you could say there were a few years there that were a little dicey for me. Man, I'm so glad I'm on the other side of that. But can I just say there is no way I would have come out whole through my divorce and launching my kids had I not had support. I had a therapist for a while, and that was also the time I started hiring coaches, and I just needed support through it all. And I just want our listeners to know there is no shame in getting help, whatever you're struggling with. I know sometimes we feel like we have to do it all and we have to do it alone, but let me tell you, it is so much easier with support. So let's talk about other ways women reinvent themselves at this stage in life.
Yeah, I know for me, I am embarking on the adventure of retirement and career changes soon. I've given myself 2 to 4 years to retire from corporate life and be a full-time entrepreneur. I'm making a plan, but it's been a big learning curve for me not to know the exact path, shocker, I know, that I will take. But I set a goal with that deadline because I thought that was important. And I actually put together a free class on this very topic for women considering the same thing. I will link it in the show notes for anyone that wants to watch it.
Oh, yes. The career changes and retirement that's a biggie, huge. I actually have several girlfriends that retired this year. One retired from education. She was a high school math teacher for her like 30 years or something. And she's currently on an 8-week motorhome trip across the country with her new husband and her dog,
How fun.
which I think is super fun. Yeah. But one thing that helps when it comes to these big life transitions is looking at them as opportunities instead of obstacles. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's really a chance for women to get curious about all the possibilities and then decide how they want their next chapter to look. I hear this a lot with the women I work with, and I help them develop the confidence and the clarity so they can create an action plan so they can make their midlife their best life. And again, that sounds cheesy AF, but it is true. Something I have noticed working with midlife women is that this desire to pivot or, to kind of pull up their big girl panties and make a change comes out of what I have named the midlife ache. They feel this void. They start asking, is this it? I've checked all the boxes and I'm still not fulfilled. There has to be more, right? And one of the beautiful things about getting to this stage in life is it's time for women to center themselves. I know this is a radical idea,
Dun, dun,
but it's time for
dun.
them to right. It's time for them to rediscover who they are and what they want after decades of prioritizing everybody else. Women over 40 are also tuning into the awareness that life is short. Like I think our mortality really comes into clear focus. And this is the only chance that we have to make the most of our one wild and precious life. Thank you, Mary Oliver. It's literally a time to pursue what really matters, don't you think? Whether it's a new career, creative pursuits, deeper relationships, but time to, I had to censor myself, time to stop settling and actively pursue what will bring joy.
Yeah, I went through a very strange stage of grief after my mom died. I really became stuck in this idea of my own mortality and feeling like I didn't have enough time left. Grief rocked me in a lot of ways, which I know is normal, but I think things like the mortality obsession and the stage I went through just reevaluating my relationship with my mom after she passed, it threw me for a massive loop. I really struggled for quite a while with all those pieces. What about you?
That's interesting. I wake up at 3 a.m. pretty much every night because of, menopause. But that is one of the things that runs through my brain is running out of time. Like I don't have enough time to do the things that I want. And this is one of my biggest fears because my mom died when she was 51 and she definitely didn't have the privilege of creating her next best chapter. So I feel like I have to do that for the both of us. Like I have so much I want to do. I just feel like I'm racing against the clock sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And I know midlife for me has been about challenging stereotypes. So we talked in the last episode about pushing back on the stereotypes of midlife. But I think in general, historically speaking, society has imposed these rigid expectations on women. So particularly around aging. However, I just love that the midlife reinvention movement is increasingly challenging these stereotypes and women are embracing their age and using it as a platform for new beginnings. We are the perfect example of this. Reinvention can be a way of embracing personal growth. As we evolve, it's time to seek out new experiences, education, or spiritual growth that aligns where we are in life, hence the podcast.
Woo woo. Hey, fabulous Drinks with the Girls listeners. Guess what? We have something exciting happening here at Drinks with the Girls. We have a way for you, our listeners, to be involved. You can be part of our Drinks with the Girls Pod Squad support team. Creating a sisterhood of empowered women is our goal, and we are so grateful you are here.
You can help us get the word out about Drinks with the Girls because we want all women to feel the support of a powerful community behind them. Here's what you need to do. Get in touch with one of us via email and let us know you want to be an official part of the Drinks with the Girls Pod Squad. Go to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe or follow Drinks with the Girls if you haven't already. Every month, we need you to share.
Share with a girlfriend via text, share to your email newsletter, share on your socials, share from the rooftops. We are so excited to have you as part of the Drinks with the Girls Pod Squad support team because after all, we're all in this together. Cheers.
Cheers.
Girl, don't even get me started on how societal constructs make it such a freaking challenge for women to age how they want.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to unhook ourselves. Like we deliberately have to unhook ourselves from decades of people pleasing, the good girl conditioning, just all the societal messages that we've had to deal with that make it so hard to thrive in midlife. There's no way we're going to start knitting and just sit around waiting to babysit the grandkids. Okay, I know you knit, right?
Crochet.
Oh, you crochet.
I
Okay.
knit too, but yeah.
Okay. You knit, and I love watching our grandkids, right? But the point is, we are so much more than what society wants us to be as we age.
I gotta say, I find it really interesting that still we've been on the air, as it were, for a little over a month now. And our most downloaded episode by a lot is the series we did on aging disgracefully. And that's so telling to me.
Agreed. We'll have to bring more juicy goodness like that. I think the exciting thing is that women, kind of to your point a little bit earlier, is women in midlife are increasingly pushing against that, and they're becoming more visible because we're seeing this right now in the media. And I think when women get past 40 and certainly 50, they are done shrinking and hiding. They are ready to boldly go into whatever their next chapter is. And I know that I can feel with each of my pivots and reinventions, I can feel the power in them. And I've felt stronger, more courageous, more confident. And each time I have made a change or taken a risk, I learned to trust myself more. But here's what our research department found when they asked Google about the importance of reinvention for women themselves in midlife.
I love our research department.
Oh my God, they're awesome. Guess what? It impacts mental and emotional well-being. Women who are open to reinventing themselves have an opportunity for greater fulfillment and happiness. This allows women to let go of outdated identities and embrace who they've become. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I feel like this period in my life is the happiest I've ever been. I feel like I'm finally stepping into my power for the first time in my life. It inspires me to do what we do here on the podcast and to bring that message to as many women as possible. I hate that whole midlife crisis label. As my British husband says, I think it's a bunch of bollocks. In an article called Navigating the Midlife Maze, Understanding, Recognizing, and Coping with the Midlife Crisis in Women, which is in the blog Midlife Marbles, says, a midlife crisis is a psychological and emotional phenomenon that typically occurs during the middle years of adulthood, generally between the ages of 40 and 60. It's characterized by a deep sense of introspection, questioning, and reevaluation of one's life, identity, and purpose. This often leads to a strong desire for change, whether it's a career shift, pursuing new passions, or making significant lifestyle adjustments. So I actually think it's a good thing. Score one against the patriarchy for reimagining that term.
I am so glad our research department found that.
Love them.
Because, they're so good. I have what is maybe an unpopular opinion about this, which I feel like we should have a whole separate episode on. But I too fought against the term midlife crisis label and considered it a bollocks for a long time.
It's not a great word.
Bollock. Am I saying that right?
Bollocks. Bollocks.
Bollocks. Until I'm like midlife crisis. No, thank you. Because what you imagine when you think of a midlife crisis, right, is not positive.
It's not a good thing. It's not like losing your mind. It's a breaking down kind of a thing.
Hysterical, whatnot. Yes. But then I started noticing a pattern with literally all my clients. They all dealt with an iteration of the same main issue, and it was not feeling like they had permission to live the life they truly want to. And not like they wanted to move to the Caribbean and, trade in their spouse and forget their family. No, even the little things that they wanted to do, they did not feel like they had permission. And this has to do, again, I feel like a broken record, but with the good girl conditioning and the people pleasing that we are all raised with. And breaking free from that is hard when it's literally been a part of who we are for decades. So then we get to midlife and we want to pivot. We want to make some kind of a little change for ourselves, but we feel like we're doing something wrong. We try to prioritize our needs in a world that never taught us that this was okay, especially if we have a family. And this is where the crisis lies. So I honestly do believe this time in life can be a crisis because it's when women have more confidence, more time, more money, and freedom to want to follow their dreams and desires, but they don't feel like they are quote unquote allowed to. This is why this next piece is so important for women in midlife.
Yep. So the next thing our research department dug up, you all know that the research department is complete bollocks, right? It's us. Yeah. Okay. Just in case. Anyways, the idea of mindset and support in reinvention. Karen is my North Star when it comes to mindset. I feel so appreciative of her in my life. And she's a professional mindset zhuzher upper. Did you know that was a title?
I'm going to put that on my
Right?
Instagram bio.
Oh, and speaking of which, did you know that there's several ways to spell zhuzh? I looked it up. It's crazy. So my personal favorite is Jeujer, zhuzher. But apparently you can spell it a bunch of different ways. Anyways,
I love it.
I digress.
Good to know.
So when you put it on your business cards, I got you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Karen Shatafian, and I am a shameless coffee addict and empowerment coach for women, and my love language is authenticity. My mission is helping women in midlife unapologetically design a life they're in love with. My website, KarenShatafian.com, has all my coaching packages and juicy things I have coming up, like my in-person retreat called Exhale in October 2024. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram talking about ways women can show up for themselves after decades of showing up for everyone else. Join me as we throw off the shackles and live our best freaking lives. But literally, once you can rewire your brain, you can do almost anything. And not in like a Frankenstein mad scientist kind of way.
What kind of quick tips can you give our listeners when it comes to their mindset and reinvention in midlife? You're so good at the shizzle. I'm sure you have some awesome pearls of wisdom to share.
It's so funny when you said quick tips, because a lot of women come to me. A lot of women come to me and they want things to like change automatically.
Change me
like
in a month. Change.
They want our work.
They
want our work together. And I'm like, girl, we're trying to rewire literally 3 to 4 decades of programming that's getting in your way. But anyway, in coaching, when you hear about people talk about mindset, they're basically just talking about your thoughts, your beliefs, and those stories, that we play on repeat in our mind. And you literally have to rewire these because more often than not, they are outdated and they are not serving your highest good. So the first step is literally just noticing them. Start paying attention to how you talk to yourself. What kind of stories are you telling yourself about your capabilities and what you want, or what you are quote unquote allowed to want or do? And look at your thoughts and beliefs, because these are what are underneath your feelings. And most women don't feel confident to make some kind of a change because their thoughts and beliefs are telling them they can't for one reason or another. So once you can learn tools and practices to get a handle on this, the world will open up for you.
Yeah, I love this idea of the world opening up for you in midlife. I know I feel so much more comfortable stepping into my power post 50, that's for sure. I didn't even feel too connected to any kind of power for most of my life, other than feeling subjected to my own fears and frankly, feeling powerless most of the time. This idea of reinvention is a powerful act of self-empowerment to me, and it signals to the world and frankly to yourself that you're in control of your destiny, capable of growth and change at any stage of life.
Hell yes. And, one of the beauties of being in your 40s or 50s or beyond is giving less forks.
Oh, just say it. You know you want to.
I do, but you're just going to boing it out.
Well,
But part of this seriously translates into being more willing to take bold moves, right? Like moves we may not have been confident to make earlier in life. And it's just amazing what can happen for women at this stage when they give themselves permission, because that's truly where the permission lies, right? So when they give themselves permission to do or be or have the things they really want in life. I see it weekly with my clients as they step into their power, and it freaking lights me up. And one of the other reasons reinvention in midlife is so important is the impact it makes. So when one woman steps into her power and lives her life unapologetically, it gives other women the green light to do the same. It shows other women what's possible. And I want this for myself, for my friends, for my other midlife women, for younger women, and especially for my daughter. I want her watching her mom live life on her terms without settling for the status quo, because that shows her she can do the same.
Yeah. I actually hear from quite a few women that my social media feels really positive for them. And they've
Mm,
said that they follow me because of that. And honestly, that's seriously
mm.
one of the highest compliments ever. To think that anything I do, directly or indirectly, inspires women is one of the greatest honors I think I could ever hope to have in this life. And I think a lot of where that comes from is I've noticed that for many women, midlife is this opportunity to step into a more authentic version of themselves. And I think they recognize that authenticity, right? I try to put that out there on my social media. And just this idea that I try to be as free from constraints and expectations that shaped me my earlier years. That whole process is really transformative for everyone, I think, but it can also have a ripple effect. And I think that's what's happening is it inspires other people to pursue their own reinvention. And if I play some small part of that, then yeah, I'm here for it.
Hell yeah, I love that. And literally, I mean, that's what Drinks with the Girls is all about,
Hmm.
right? And I'm here for it. So this episode has been so juicy and I could just talk about it for hours. But what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
So I think I might need to bust out the Drinks with the Girls bleep button for this one because I
Do it.
really think the biggest takeaway I want people to come away with is stop giving a fuck what everybody thinks of you. Put yourself first for a change. My God, for fuck's sake, please.
Oh my God.
Just saying.
I love that sentence.
And speaking of which, speaking of the Drinks with the Girls bleep button, seriously, tell us how you feel. Takeaways. Like, do you want us like full fledged pedal to the metal? Like, do we care about the forks or the freaks? Like, we'd love to know because to be honest, and of course we try to be as honest as possible. We have avoided that and bleeped that out because we did not want to get the podcast censored, right? We didn't want to get stuck in some explicit category because it's a whole big thing. But if y'all like are there for it, we're there for it too. So I'll be interested to see what people say. So yeah, that's one of my takeaways. Should we put the forks back in?
I'm interested in what you all have to say as our listeners too, because I want to be very cognizant of how you feel about the F word and other salty language that I may or may not use. And I'm trying really hard, but I feel like I'm being suppressed. I can't be me. But seriously, I mean, I could get through a podcast without saying the F word.
It's all good.
So, takeaways. Yeah, I have to second what Lisa says. It's literally by the time we get to this point in our life, it's going to be a natural thing that you're going to reinvent yourself for one reason or another, whether you choose big moves or it's because of, just those midlife transitions that happen. And I think it's important that you listen to your heart, you listen to your soul, and you do what is right for you. You have been literally putting everybody else's needs in front of yours for decades. And I'm not saying to forget about the people you love. I'm not saying to go do all these wild and crazy things. I'm just saying put your needs on the top of the list, at least as high as everyone else's, if not higher.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for those of us that have kids in terms of they're watching you, right?
For sure.
They're watching you, the good, the bad, the whatever. And as much as my daughter gets on me, she's like, you're working too much, right? Like, I know she's watching me. And so I try to hold myself accountable to that, right? Like, I want her to understand that, yeah, you have to work really hard in life to get what you want. But there are times when she hits me with a truth bomb and I'm like, yeah, that's valid. Okay, I need to think about that. I need to live that and acknowledge that with her. I feel like, and again, I'm not trying to bag on my mom, but I feel like that was an area she fell down on for sure.
Mm.
I don't think she really owned a lot of kind of those messages that she put out in the world that were difficult for me that I'm still dealing with. And, she was high on quite a few people's pedestals, right? She was Saint Renee for a lot of people. And I'm not trying to be nasty about that, but that's one of the things I think I processed since she's been gone, because frankly, I don't think I was able to when she was here. And it's been an interesting part of that grief journey for me to kind of process the parts of her that maybe not were okay, and that's okay, that I can still love my mom, but that there were things about her that were also not okay as well. And that's been an interesting kind of postscript.
Yeah. I think, mother-daughter relationships are so powerful, and like in all realms, like powerfully good and powerfully not good sometimes. And being able to reconcile all that, I think, is really important for us, especially if we're mothers, especially if we're mothers of daughters, to try to not pass on the things that weren't so good, about our moms. And it's funny, I was just watching a little Mary Tyler Moore blip, Queen, shout out to Mary Tyler Moore. But Larry King was interviewing her. So obviously this was years ago. And I guess she had just come out with like a tell-all book or something. And he's basically saying, well, do you really want to put all this out there? Like, do you really want people to know all these kind of, not great things about you?
Larry's got to stir the pot, of course.
Right. And she said, basically, like, her response was just fabulous. She's basically said, because I think everybody too saw Mary Tyler Moore as like this little, kind of like maybe like your mom, like this little, saint, angel or whatever. And she's basically saying everybody has light and dark. Everybody, and you can't just present this one side of yourself. We all have the good and the bad. We all have the great things that we do, and then the screw ups that we do. Right. And it's just owning it and, just trying to be the best human you can.
Yeah. And I mean, we could do a whole entire other podcast about this, and I know we're trying to wrap it up, but
let's do it.
I definitely think that reinvention was not part of my mom's vocabulary. And I think that was one of her big regrets. Like, I think she really was one of those people that definitely was like A plus B equals C. And then when she got sick, and I'm sure your mom had a similar thing, like that was not part of the plan. Like she was always like, my dad's the one that treats his body poorly, like, right? And so the fact that she was the one that got sick first was very disorienting and difficult for her. And so I don't know. I mean, she didn't get the chance for the reinvention, similar to your mom, but for a different reason, right? And so I hear, what I want to say, that idea of you feeling like you're responsible for doing two reinventions, that resonates with me. I get it. Like, I don't think she would have ever given herself permission to do some of the things that I've given myself permission to do. And I think in her way, she was really proud of me for doing that, even though it came out sometimes in this really back-ass words compliment way. Like, I just admire you so much for really putting your kids first and not worrying about your house so you can spend time with them. And I'm like, thank you, I think.
And maybe a part of that was literally like jealousy almost, or maybe not jealousy. That might not be the right word, but like the fact that, she couldn't do that, or she didn't do that. And she maybe wanted to have had the choice, so maybe a little bit of that, but obviously like we'll never know. Yeah. And I mean, it pisses me off that my mom didn't even have a child. Like, she got diagnosed at 48.
That's crazy.
And was gone at 51. And she was not in a happy marriage. And so I like to, just kind of think, had she lived a full life, that, she would have gotten divorced and then just literally lived her best life from 55 to 95.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm doing it for her.
Yes, you are, girl.
Yes,
wow.
I am.
Okay, that was a lot. I'm very interested to hear, because we kind of went on a few tangents on this one, from forks in the road, literally, to forks.
That's right.
So, all kinds of forks. All the forks. So I'll be interested to hear what people say about this. We're starting actually to get feedback from you guys, and it's super exciting, so keep it coming.
Keep it coming. Leave comments.
Oh my
leave
gosh,
reviews.
please.
Send us emails. We want to know what you guys are
I
thinking.
know people are starting to suggest topics, which is so exciting.
Exciting.
I know. So awesome. Well, till next time, peeps. Cheers.
Cheers.